Hello everyone. My name is Strange, and I believe that people should know the truth. Every day, my agents around the globe extract for you new shocking stories of the presence and activity of extraterrestrial life forms on our planet. In the same way, you help me by overcoming fear by sending me your stories. Together we will force the authorities to disclose all the information they have. And today, I will take another step towards that. I have in my hands the diary of an employee of a secret research base in the USA. The authorities have strictly classified all information, but as I said in other videos, many people even in the highest echelons of power support me and want people to know the truth. Next, I will read out the diary without changes, which officially does not exist. I'm starting. I am an employee at a research base and something strange is happening here. So comrades, I've been working here for some time, and at first everything was fine. But lately I have been noticing more and more strangeness happening around. I do not know what is going on, so I will write here. Here I'll describe everything that happened during this damn week, just to talk it out. Otherwise, I will completely move. I will begin my retelling from the first day, gradually getting to the point. Day 1. It was an ordinary day then, the same as dozens before it. I've been working at this base for 3 months now, so I'm already used to it. What are we doing? We are listening to heaven. As one of the senior staff likes to put it, a huge number of radio telescopes are scoring space in search of extraterrestrial intelligence. This is our main job, although some are conducting third-party research. That was the first time I heard a strange sound in the forest. It's a cross between the squeal of a cat being trodden on its tail and the hum of an airplane turbine. I was pretty scared then and ran to the residential building. Day 2. I helped in the lab today. Well, as I helped, the usual work in the style of bring, give, dump, do not interfere. As if someone would entrust something more responsible to the laboratory assistant. In the afternoon, I sat with our guard, one of many. He said that lately the cameras have been periodically messing up for no reason, and his colleagues who have night shifts say something about strange glitches. They say that the cameras detect something like glare on the water or air trembling from the heat. And I also found out that they came across dead animals in the forest several times. I did not leave the station grounds that day. Day 3. At night I was woken up by dogs. The cursed dogs were growling at the forest, as my friend explained to me when I went out to ask what was going on here. They were howling so loudly that my ears were almost blocked. What could possibly have excited them so much? A strange sound from the forest and glitches with cameras did not occur to me then. In vain, as I understand it now, very much in vain. The day passed quickly enough, but in the evening the strangeness continued. One dog was missing, and as a result the guards tried to find it for a couple of hours. The sheepdog, and it was a sheepdog, was never found, but they found a bloody trail going deep into the forest and several pieces of dog hair nearby. No one asked any questions, but since then, we have been walking in constant tension. Okay, if it's just a wild animal. But considering what I've already seen and heard, I didn't go into the forest alone anymore. Day 4. Some of the devices are out of order, just check. Guess who was harnessed to fix them? That's right, me. But at least I talked to our listeners. As it turned out, they caught a strange signal. Not the same as from stars or, for example, planets, no. It was meaningful. A message consisting entirely of unreadable characters, in which, nevertheless, a certain logic and order were guessed. What's worse is that those who had time to look at this message better are now suffering from migraines. What is even stranger is that senior researchers walk in perpetual tension. It's like something important is happening, as if they were witnessing something unimaginably great. Some of the guards complained of headaches after night shifts, and the dogs no longer quiet down at night. They bark hoarsely until their voice leaves them completely. I feel uncomfortable here. I try not to be alone, and I no longer go to the radio telescopes. I don't want to repeat the fate of that dog. Day 5. Something fell from the sky. A flaming fireball cut through the sky and fell somewhere in the forest. Damn. There is a commotion at the base. An expedition is going to the crash site. On one hand, I don't want to get into this, but on the other, I have to figure out what's going on here. Why did the car fall after the signal? What was that signal? Why did he fall in the direction the dogs were barking at? What the fuck were they barking at? I chewed off all my nails. I signed up for a research group. We leave tomorrow at dawn. I need to sleep it off. I wish I could say that, but sleep didn't come at all then, and in rare moments of oblivion, I only had nightmares. Symbols that could not be deciphered, creepy creatures that seemed to crawl out of a fallen car. At the same time, when I was suffering from insomnia, my head was filled with thoughts about all those strange events that had happened over the past 5 days. I still remember how, in my half-delirium, I assumed how they could be connected. Is this an invasion? Or a friendly visit? Or maybe it has nothing to do with anything at all, and I'm just paranoid. Day 6. The group went out early in the morning to make the necessary measurements and return before dark, so I can get a good night's sleep. 5 of the guards and the same number of scientific staff, including me. We moved into the forest at dawn, moving in the direction where the thing, whatever it was, had fallen. The forest was surprisingly quiet, too quiet, even for such an early hour. Yet a natural silence weighed on us more heavily than the backpacks with equipment that we carried on our backs. Only our professor, the leader of this spontaneous outing, was unnaturally cheerful. We walked for about an hour, making our way through the forest thicket, until we found the first signs of something large falling, broken and burned treetops. This something was falling at the sharpest angle possible, judging by what we had noticed, so it was still a long way to go. And that didn't make me happy at all at the time. The longer we were in this forest, the harder it was. Considering all that had happened, my sleep-deprived brain saw a terrible monster in almost every shadow. What's worse, the silence is over. Yes, she was pushing, but she was better than what started next. The silence was replaced by sounds that alarmed everyone. The rustle of bushes, some kind of tapping coming from afar, and the howling of the wind. If it was the wind, of course, and not a single bird or any other animal. There weren't even any insects. This situation bothered almost everyone, especially the guards, who casually reached for their service weapons. And only the professor remained unperturbed, continuing to walk forward. And so, in a similar state, we got to a more obvious trace of the fall, a huge pothole in the ground. We're almost there. I don't know how long we walked, but it disappeared before us. It was anything but a meteorite. There was something lying where the pothole ended, a sphere with a color that could not exist on Earth. And around it towered pillars of unknown material, covered with those incomprehensible symbols from my dream. But what finished me off was below, at the base of these columns. The land there was no longer land. She has turned into something that looks very much like stale meat, which somehow continues to move. This thing was breathing. I saw how this muck at the base of the platforms inflated and then deflated again in time with the flickering of the sphere in the very center of the structure. Judging by the pothole that led directly to it, it was this sphere that fell from space to our planet yesterday. She managed to grow so much just overnight. I was distracted from my thoughts by a strange sound that did not belong here at all. There was a laugh. It was the professor's laugh that started this little expedition. He was shaking as if in a fever, laughing like a madman and walking towards this structure erected by someone unknown in the middle of the forest. We all froze looking at him. The professor had already passed the first columns and was now staggering towards the sphere. And finally reaching it, he turned around. I don't know what happened to his face, but I was scared. I was so scared that I stopped breathing. Maybe it was the unnaturally wide artificial smile, or the fact that his eyes expressed nothing at all. They were like a dead man's. A shot rang out. One of the guards lost his nerve. The professor collapsed onto that strange surface and seemed to be sinking into it. At the same time, we witnessed how the coverage area began to expand. This stuff gradually grew, devouring organic matter. That's when it all came together in my head. Dead animals, a dead dog, and strange sounds. The sounds that I heard 5 days ago in the forest now sounded again. Something came out from behind the trees. It looked like a man, but just as much as an inept sculpture looks like him. He had no eyes or nose, just a huge toothy mouth that split his head in two. These creatures, how could we not notice them? This is, and then I remember the conversation I had with the guard. Glitches on the cameras. I still remember how with barely obeying hands I took my phone out of my pocket, turned on the camera, pointed at it, and saw nothing. Somehow these monsters were not captured by video cameras. And in the forest, apparently they also hid excellently. Just like that, we overlooked the invasion right next to us. And more of these parodies of people came out from behind the trees. They walked towards us at a broken pace, as if they had never been able to walk, but they did it amazingly fast. And I ran as fast as I could. The others are probably the same. I heard gunshots behind me, but very soon they were replaced by screams. We walked here for several hours, so I hadn't run even a quarter of the way when I finally ran out of steam. I dropped my backpack at the very beginning, so all I had to do was go ahead, back to the base, and pray to all the gods I know that these creatures did not get to me before. And I walked, I ran, sometimes I crept. When I heard those sounds again, I would freeze and start looking around, hoping that at least I would have time to notice something before I was devoured. Or they will drag you to these columns, where they will devour you again. Day 7, and here we are at last. Somehow I managed to get back to the station before dark. Alone. No one else came. I was interviewed for a long time by our head of security on the topic of what happened in the forest. I could barely tell you. I stumbled, stuttered, and kept muttering. I was finally released only an hour later. I'm locked in my living room right now. I'm sitting, shaking from the experience and writing this diary. For half an hour now, there has been no sound outside except shuffling footsteps and hoarse growls. These creatures came, and I suppose killed everyone or most of them. While I was sitting here, I learned that about 10 years ago, another meteorite fell into the same area. Nothing else was said, but I assume that he is the original source of all the oddities that happened before. The same sphere that fell somewhere in the woods and began to prepare a springboard with the hands of its copies of people for intrusions? Don't know. I just hope that those who need to see will see it. Now I'm going to try to get to the radio center and call someone here. This situation should be known. I hope that this will not be my last message, but there is little chance of that. Goodbye. If you think that this is not proof of the existence of aliens, then you are right. There is much more evidence, and on our channel we will reveal all the secrets and evidence of their presence. Share this video on your social networks because you need maximum publicity. And also, subscribe to the channel and send me your stories related to aliens by email. You will find contacts in the About the Channel section. If I haven't answered you, then I'm still checking on you, because the special services of all countries have announced a hunt for me. But together we will force the authorities to disclose all the information they have. After all, people should know the truth.